Yeah, we should have got reserve study. We should have, we look at a new board comes in, goes back to the old board and said, Mr. President, did you get a reserve study? Because we're worried now. Oh, no, we never got one. And then further down the road, they go, hey, we found it. You lied to us. Now we're going to sue you, past board member, because guess what? Now you lied about the reserve study. You didn't fund it. You ignored it. And now all of a sudden we, as the new board, have to pick up for it.
HOA Insights is brought to you by 5 companies that care about board members: Association Insights and Marketplace, Association Reserves, Community Financials, HOA Invest, and Kevin Davis Insurance Services. You'll find links to their websites and social media in the show notes.
Hi, I'm Robert Nordlund of Association Reserves.
And I'm Kevin Davis of Kevin Davis Insurance Services. And this is HOA Insights, where we promote common sense
for common areas. Well, welcome to episode 94, where we're again speaking with insurance expert and regular co-host Kevin Davis about how to prevent breach of fiduciary duty claims at your association. Kevin tells me that year in and year out, breach of fiduciary duty is the number one type of claim against community association boards of directors. So we want to share with our audience how that type of claim arises and what you can do to prevent it from happening at your association. We want our podcast audience, that's you, to be well informed and to be well prepared. This is a follow-up to episode number 92 with subject matter expert Mitch Drimmer from Accela Technologies, talking about his area of specialty, which is collections and cash flow. And I think I said 92, and that should be episode 93. Expenses continue to increase, and you want to make sure your budget is not crippled by some non-paying or slow-paying homeowners at your association. So if you missed that episode or any other prior episode, take a moment after today's program to listen from our podcast website, www.hoainsights.org, or watch on our YouTube channel. But better yet, subscribe from any of the major podcast platforms so you don't miss any future episodes. Those of you watching on YouTube can see that the HOA Insights mug I have here that I got from our merch store, which you can browse through from our HOAinsights.org website or from the link in the show notes. You'll find that we have some great free stuff there, like board member Zoom backgrounds you can use when you have your board meetings, and some specialty items for sale like this mug. So go to the merch store, download the free Zoom background, and take a moment, look around, find the mug you'd like, and email me at podcast@reservestudy.com with your name, shipping address, and mug choice, mentioning episode 94 mug giveaway. And if you're the 10th person to email me, I'll ship you that mug free of charge. Well, we enjoy hearing from you, responding to the issues that you're facing at your association. So if you have a hot topic, a crazy story, or a question you'd like us to address, you can contact us at 805-203-3130 or email us at podcast@reservestudy.com. One of those questions led us to today's topic, and we had Regina from Cleveland asking, someone accused me of breaching fiduciary duty. What did I do? And now what do I do? So, Kevin, what do you say to Regina?
Well, it's interesting. Regina, we handle directors and officers liability insurance, and I've been doing it for way too many years. And it is the number one claim that we see year in and year out. We always hear about these board members breaching their fiduciary duty, and as a result, I've been harmed, I've been damaged in all kinds of ways. So, Robert, I think the first thing we got to do is talk about what fiduciary duty means, what it is. Right. Okay. As a board of directors of a community association, you have a legal obligation to do certain things. You have to act in the best interest of the association. You have to make sure you manage the association properly. You have to do, there's certain things you have to do. And if you don't do those things right, that's where fiduciary duty comes in. Now, there are 4 parts to fiduciary duty. There are key principles. Number 1, you have a duty of care. That means you got to act reasonable, diligent, and be competent. Okay? Number 2, duty of loyalty. That means you have to be loyal. You can't have any interests outside of the association. You can't focus in on anything. You can't prioritize your own situation, your own personal goals.
Okay, so like can we say no conflict of interest?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's it.
Okay.
If you have any conflict of interest, that's perfect. Next one is duty of obedience. Okay, that means you must adhere to the governing documents, the laws, legislation, everything that says this is how you perform, and this is how you manage a community association as outlined either in the documents or the laws, legislation. Then you have a duty of transparency, okay, which is open communication, but open and accurate communication.
So you got to be forthright.
Yes.
Judy.
So we say breach of fiduciary duty. All we're saying is that you have to act in a reasonable manner. You have to be careful. You have to be loyal. You have to just do your job. It kind of outlines how your job is done. And the question is, and from Regina there, is that when somebody said you breached your fiduciary duty, that means you didn't do one of these 4 things. You didn't act reasonably. You didn't have loyalty. That means you had an outside interest. You had a conflict there. Maybe the landscaper was your friend or buddy, or you're accused of getting kickbacks. You didn't adhere to the governing documents. You didn't give accurate information out. So when we talk about breach of fiduciary duty, and this is why this is such an important question, because as a board members of a community association, it's a legal obligation. You have to do these things the right way.
Okay, I'm digesting that all. I'm thinking that it's a little bit similar to what I think we've talked about in the past, that we talk about the business judgment rule. That's a 3-part test. And I'm also hearing Julie Adamen's voice in my head because she stresses effective communication. And just making sure that you use the word transparent, open communication. You're being clear. You're not hiding anything. Bad things happen when you're hiding things. Bad things happen when you do a white lie and then it snowballs. I'm thinking back to an episode we had with George Nowak a long time ago, attorney George Nowak from Atlanta, right?
That's right.
Wonderful Southern accent. And he was talking in that episode how hard it is to be perfect and how you can't expect to be perfect. So I want to relieve you of that burden. You want to be good, but it's hard to be perfect. And Kevin, what you're talking about here...
That's the good part about this whole breach of fiduciary duty. It doesn't say you have to be perfect. It says you have to be reasonable.
Yes.
That's all. Use reasonable care, okay? It says you can't have a conflict of interest, You have to obey the governing documents.
Right. It means you can be friendly with a long-term provider of services. You can be friendly with the landscaper that's served your association well for 10 years. You want to honor that provider, but it doesn't mean that you give him too much of a competitive advantage it doesn't mean that you slip him a competitor's proposal if you're going out for bid.
Exactly. And again, That's why there's a line there as for board members of community association. For Regina there. Regina, basically somebody says, look, they're accusing you of breaching one of these duties. One of these things they said you did wrong. Well, guess what? They can say you did them all wrong. You didn't use reasonable care. You didn't give me accurate information about the budget or reserve study. I got a reserve study, and guess what? And it says that you have to invest this much money every year, and you have to put much money away. Okay, you didn't share that with me. You weren't open, and that's what. And you said something really important is that you're going back to past podcasts that we did. All the podcasts equals to one thing. If you didn't listen to those podcasts and you said, you know what, I like what she said about open communication, but it's not that important. Well, guess what? It is. Because, again, it's one of the duties you have as a board member called duty of transparency. So everything goes back, everything we've talked about for the past 92 webinars goes back to today, is that if you don't do any things that we've been talking about over the past 93, that means you have the potential of breaching your fiduciary duty.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you a hypothetical. And I think this came up in a past episode also. Let's say that you have a 30-day board meeting notice requirement. Okay. And the power's off. Okay. We've had wildfires in California. We've had hurricanes in Florida. Let's talk about hailstorms in Texas or Colorado. Let's say there's good reason you had no power. And so the notice for the board meeting goes out 25 days in advance. Do you be forthright and say, hey, we haven't given the 30 days. We're giving 25 days. We're doing our level best. How would you manage that?
Oh,
Would
all
you
right.
defer the board meeting from the normal first day of the month, or would you cross your fingers and go with the 25 because that's pretty close because you're being honest?
Here's the interesting part about it. This is why it's the number one claim that we see. Because if I'm a unit owner, whenever I'm upset, I'm going to say, guess what? You breached your duty because guess what? You weren't reasonable, you weren't loyal, you weren't obedient, you weren't transparent. One of those four things. Now, what you just said is a situation where, guess what? We can't do 30 days. So what we're doing is being reasonable. We're being reasonable. We're being competent. We did our due diligence, okay? Because at the end of the day, do you have a defensible position? That's the bottom line.
I like that.
You have a defensible position. And going back to Regina, okay, Regina, somebody accusing you, okay, breaching your fiduciary duty, okay? Now, right off the bat, did you breach it or not? Did you breach it? And you can say, yeah, I did. There's 25, it's 30 days, I did 25 days. So I did breach my fiduciary duty. Okay, but I have a defense for it. I have a defense. This is our reasoning. So it was reasonable for what we did, And it goes back to the prudent man. Did you act in the best interest? Was no any conflict there? Were you reasonable? Okay, and that's the key thing. Because sometimes, guess what? And as when you do your reserve status, you give it to somebody, and guess what they do with it? They do something that's unreasonable. They go, you don't know what you're talking about, and ignore it. That's not reasonable. Okay, it's not reasonable. So again, duty of care is so important, and it goes back to one of those things. Yeah. Were you reasonable?
I'm wringing my hands because you just brought back a memory. We had one client not long ago that prepared a reserve study, and it was challenging news, as so many reserve studies are, and they buried it. And apparently someone asked them if they prepared a reserve study, and they said no. And that was trouble because they were inaccurate. They were covering something up. And then there was a situation I had forever ago where a board member called us up and wanted a reserve study proposal. And it was a simple thing. It was an update. And I remember the number was like $900. Okay. And then a management company called a couple weeks later, slightly different named association, slightly different number of units, slightly different description of the properties. And we bid it at $1,000. And the management company called me up a few days later screaming bloody murder because they were so embarrassed that it looked like we were doing a 10% kickback to the management company for our reserve study proposal for that association. And I was like, what are you talking about? We don't do that.
Yeah.
But the circumstances were two proposals in the same period of time, slightly different names, slightly different descriptions, slightly different number of units.
Yeah.
And yes, it was 10% more work, but it made the management company look so bad that they were, it took us a lot of effort to unwind that. And boy, the trouble, it amounted to nothing. But to be honest, and that's what we're talking about here.
But I may interrupt you because you had two things. Duty of transparency. They lied, right? Duty of loyalty. That means you acted in your own interest, not the other person's interest. So it all goes, and then you just said the same thing. It costs a lot of work and a lot of headache for it. And that's where Regina's at right now. You think about Regina's situation. Somebody accused her of doing one of these things. And Regina go, wait a minute. I did my job properly. I did the things I should do.
Yeah.
How can they do this to me?
Yeah. And that could be, like for us, it was just accident. It was slight different descriptions. It could be you are going out to bid for the landscape contractor and someone sees you chatting friendly with the landscape boss who's there one day, and they get the contract, and someone who's not happy with you, someone who people are entitled to their opinion. And
exactly.
What have we heard? People can sue for anything.
And this is why this is such an important topic. Because you see now in those four areas, you can sue for anything. Now, what happened to you was a headache for you, but you can unwind it pretty easily. What happens in situations where you have more people involved? You have a community association involved, against the board because the board failed to fund the reserves. Okay, can you imagine I unwind something like that? The time it takes, the lawyers that are involved. And that's where it comes into a problem area. And that is now all of a sudden, I've been sued, Regina's been sued because she breached her fiduciary duty. Take you one example, because guess what? It was 30 days. You did it, you didn't do it in a timely manner. Okay, the breach of fiduciary, because you didn't do it in a timely manner. Now, let's say that she did it in a timely manner. She did it, she was reasonable in it, but she still had a lawsuit there. That's what she has to respond to.
Yeah.
Okay? And now she has to go to court. And you go back to George Nowak's situation, right? George Nowak said, how were you harmed? Remember that situation?
Right.
In front of a judge, because you didn't do it in the timely manner that you said you were going to do it. How were you harmed? And all of a sudden, but again, that may take how long? A year, 3 months, 6 months, a year? And guess what? There's an attorney there who's spending time and energy, because guess what? As a board of directors, you did not do the job you're supposed to do. There's accusing of breaching your fiduciary duty, but you as a board member are saying, well, guess what? It was reasonable. So now you're battling back and forth. A judge has to determine, was it reasonable? And the key thing is this, Robert, is that there's certain times you can spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. At the end of it, it's over, and there's no judgment. There's no damages. Because a lot of times you think breaching your fiduciary duty, there's millions of dollars in damages because guess what? I was hurt, I was harmed. But it's not about damages. It is about the energy you just felt when you just said pulling apart those two situations took that much energy and how much you felt about it. That's what Regina's feeling right now, and nothing even started yet. She doesn't even know why they even accused her of anything.
Yeah, it may have been. Well, let's flip it. Let's say they put out the board member notice 30 days, and maybe the accuser is the one who was out of town and didn't get the notice until the 25th day.
Yeah.
And they're upset.
Yeah.
It could be crazy things like that, but you're right. Once the attorney letters start flying, that's when you hope it's just an accident, that it can all be explained away, but attorney hours add up. And there's these more lights in my brain flashing that insurance is for accidents. As a board member, you're trying your level best to do these things. And I wrote them down: duty of care, to be reasonable; duty of loyalty, no conflict of interest; duty of obedience, to follow your governing documents and legislation; and duty of transparency, that open communication. What's another way to say open sunrise, open board meetings, things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Different ways to say that, but just, being honest. I'm a volunteer here. We are Happy Villa Condominium Association, and I'm a volunteer. We're doing our level best. It isn't going to be perfect, and that's why I love there being insurance, because accidents happen.
Yeah. And somebody accuse you, and the difference about this type of insurance, it's a little bit different because it's not really even just you're just being accused of something. You breach but you could have actually breached it and still have insurance. Let's say you decide, like the person who said they lied. They said, listen, we should have got reserve study. We should have, we look at a new board comes in, goes back to the old board, and said, Mr. President, did you get a reserve study? Because we're worried about, oh, no, we never got one. And then further down the road, they go, hey, we found it. You lied to us. Now, we're going to sue you, past board member, because guess what? Now you lied about the reserve study. You didn't fund it. You ignored it. And now all of a sudden, we, as the new board, have to pick up for it. So the good thing about insurance,
you're making us be the bad guys by passing a special assessment.
So now insurance comes into play and go, okay, now what happens? Who's protected? Who's not protected? And then that old board member can say, guess what? You breached your fiduciary duty because as the new board, you need to do, duty of care, duty of reasonableness, and all those different things pop up. And this is the reason why when you say the word breach your fiduciary duty, it encompasses everything as a board members of community association. It is such an important thing, such an important topic.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, did you play football?
Yeah.
Okay. If any of you have met me in person, I'm not a football size kind of guy, but I'm thinking that, there was something that happened, like a fumble, and then you get a pile of these big football guys on it, and it's the referee's job, which is, in this case, maybe the judge's job, to gradually, one by one, peel the people off and find out what actually did happen.
Yeah.
And so there's all these accusations going on.
Yeah.
And that takes time for the judge or whomever, or the mediator or whatever, to unwind it. And that's why you need insurance, because that kind of a situation is expensive.
And that's the key thing, because it can be so expensive because each party can have their own lawyers. The association, it becomes, and when you see these things there, you go, all right, if the board did their job, if the board understands, what the breach of fiduciary duty means, then guess what? It can cost maybe $5,000, $10,000 to get that board member out of it. Regina right now, if she goes back and say, okay, I was accused of not sending out a timely notice, but I didn't do it because guess what happened last week? We had a major fire in California, and for 1 week we couldn't do anything. Now that unit owner doesn't understand that, because the unit owner happened to live in Connecticut right now, and they come here just for the nice weather, and they're the ones not being reasonable. See, the problem with unit owners, they don't have to be reasonable. They don't have a fiduciary responsibility.
Now you got me rubbing my head. Hey, Kevin, okay, I think we've explained the problem here. I have a list of follow-up questions, but we'll catch them. But right now it's time to hear from one of our generous sponsors, after which we'll be back with more common sense for common areas.
Hi, I'm Kevin Davis, the president of Kevin Davis Insurance Services. Our experienced team of underwriters will help you when you get that declination. We provide the voice of reason, someone who will stand by you. Our underwriters bring years of knowledge to our clients that can't be automated by technology or driven by price. As a proud AMWINS company, we bring true value to your community association clients. We are your community association insurance experts.
And we're back. Well, Kevin and I had a lot of head of steam on this conversation as we went to the break, but I have a number of questions, and it starts out with what happens to the person making the claim that something was wrong, the person that was accusing Regina.
And that's the key. When we start from that person, that unit owner, the person who lives there, accusing Regina of doing something that breached her duty. What are the things we talked about? It could be reasonable. It could be unreasonable. That person could be dead wrong. The person could be purely emotional. But what Regina has to do is act in a prudent manner, and do the thing. Please let me know what happened. Just ask that individual, what did I do? Why do you think I breached my duty? And put it in writing. Because what happens there, most people won't put it in writing. Most people will just want to gripe and they move on.
Okay.
Once they put it in writing, now they have a claim. And that means a claim is a demand. Stop doing this. Stop, sending out notices in an untimely manner. Whatever it is, stop doing it. Once they do that, it's a claim made against that board member. And once that claim is made, you have to notify the insurance provider for your own protection.
Are you adding fuel to the fire when you, as the board member, are asking the accuser to put it in writing, or should it be, is that important enough to you that you, do you instruct them to put it in writing, or do you ask them if it's serious enough that they want to put it in writing? How would Regina kindly and appropriately see if it's a big enough deal or if it's just someone blowing off steam?
Well, the problem to me, again, we're not lawyers and we're not specialists.
Right.
Speaking from an insurance point of view, who see this all the time, the question is this: people have a right to complain all day long, but when they put it in writing, that means it's serious enough for them. When you tell somebody, can you send me notarize, send me a note, send me something that really explains why you believe I breached your fiduciary duty.
So you can do it kindly and just say, can you clarify, can you put it in writing to make sure I understand you clearly?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Because the key thing, what you want them to do, because most people want to complain and they walk away. Yeah. And they want to be heard too. When you tell them put it in writing, let me know what you mean, that means they've been heard. And life goes on. So, and most of the times, that's what happens. Is, notify me, put it in writing, let me know what's going on. Once they put it in writing, that means it's serious to that person. When somebody puts the time and puts something in writing, addressed to Robert Nordlund, guess what? You got to pay attention to it. Get that phone call from that manager saying you embezzled my money or you that kickbacks. There's a difference when you get in that letter in writing saying it. It's still, you still have that same issue, but boy, once that's in writing, it's in writing. And that now you give it more attention.
Yeah, and that triggers you to contact your insurance agent.
That triggers it. That triggers that insurance.
Okay.
As soon as you do that, it triggers the insurance. So make sure, and this is the problem, the manager, you give it to the manager. The manager will say, this person does it all the time. Throw it away, okay? The board,
So
no
if
matter
you're-
what happens, you have to make sure your insurance get it to protect you in the future. That's all you're doing is protecting you in the future because you don't know what's going to happen. When that person is upset enough to put something in writing, that means they're upset. If you don't do the right thing, the next thing is calling that lawyer. And that lawyer is going to start easy. All he wants to do is say, guess what? They breached their fiduciary duty. I'm on this because that board of directors, they should know better. Now all of a sudden that lawyer's on the dime. He's making money. And that means you got to hire a lawyer that makes money. And if you would have put them on notice, guess what happens? That means the insurer provider is the one that gets in there, jumps in there, and they're taking care of it. They're taking a lot of the weight off your shoulders. That's their job from an insurance point of view.
Okay, good. They can bring your blood pressure back down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our first webinar we did, Robert, we talked about D&O insurance. We called it peace of mind insurance. Remember that? We did.
Yeah. Okay.
Years and years ago.
It seems like it. Okay, so what happens to the association? We talked about the accused says, can you clarify? Can you put it in writing? The accuser either realizes that they were just blowing off steam or they do want to put it in writing. What happens to the association? Is the association damaged? Is the association a party to anything here?
Oh, okay, good. Because what ended up happening is now, all of a sudden, the association, that individual, Regina, let's say that she really did breach their duty. Let's say she did something that didn't act reasonably.
Okay.
She gave misinformation out. Go back to that first original one when a person lied about exactly what was going on in there about the reserve study.
Okay.
And Regina hid that. Now all of a sudden, Regina's in trouble because she breached her duty, and the association can be named in a lawsuit too because she's representing the association, and the other board members can be in trouble. So now all of a sudden, that individual, that unit owner says, listen, you lied. And as a result of you lying, now all of a sudden costs us millions of dollars to make all the repairs that is needed because you had a reserve study and you failed to honor it, failed to acknowledge it even existed. So now it's I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue the board, all the board members. I'm going to sue you, Regina, the rest of the board. I'm going to sue the old board too, who had reserve study and did nothing to it. I'm suing the association for millions of dollars because guess what? It impacts me in the way I live, and it impacts me, my quality of life. And now all of a sudden I feel like, you're harassing me because I brought it to your attention. You're bullying me. And now all of a sudden, one situation that Regina went into could have been not easily, again, you could be named in the claim, but it can cost millions of dollars in the long run.
Okay. Well, I'm also thinking that I've got so many questions, and again, this stuff. This is the world that you live in, but I can feel another episode coming up that we need to follow up on some of these loose ends about, again, how to keep from making a mountain out of a molehill, all these different things. What happens if they elevate it from a written claim to a lawsuit, board member versus the associate, all those kinds of things. We don't have time for that today.
But it's so important, Robert, because those are things we see when we see breach of fiduciary duty. That's what it's like. It is about, It's like somebody being tackled and pulling the bodies off, and all those bodies can have lawyers because they all want protection. And guess what? If all of a sudden we're on the board, I told you, Robert, I told you that I had to lie about that. Now I'm being named in a lawsuit. I want my lawyer. You get your lawyer. And now all of a sudden the treasurer, I'm just new. I don't even know what's going on. You can have 5 individual lawyers in there. And guess who makes that decision? The insurance company. The insurance company has to decide there's a conflict between each individual board member. So we have to assign 5 board members to each individual board member to each board of directors, and the past board too gets their lawyers.
Yeah, that's getting expensive. Okay.
And that's the whole point. It gets really expensive.
Yeah, I feel another episode coming on, and so we will follow up on this at some future point in time. But let me ask, how do you prevent this? Because it sounds like a mess. It sounds like a pile. How do you prevent this?
Okay. And that's why I love doing these podcasts with you, because number one thing, you have to be informed. You have to understand that you have a breach. You have a responsibility. You have a legal obligation to act in the best interest of the association, period. Forget the 4 things, but you have a legal obligation. So when you say that, we call it fiduciary responsibility or fiduciary duty, but that's what it means. Just act in a professional manner. Understand that these 4 things are critical to you. There's nothing more important than those 4 things. So once you do that, now all of a sudden you're making reasonable decisions. And when somebody accuses you of it, All you can do is you have a defensible position. Now, what helps you to have a defensible position more than anything else is to use outside experts. That's the key. You don't take it on yourself to say, from now on, this is what we're going to do. Have your lawyer give you that advice. Bring that lawyer in as part of the decision. Just like they bring you in, Robert, when a reserve thing has to be done. They're not sitting there saying, guess what? Our roof's going to last another 10 years because I went up there and I stepped on it. And guess what? They're going to
I looked
last
at
10
it.
years.
Yeah. And that I'm thinking an inspector of elections, hiring someone to a tax expert to prepare your taxes, even though it should be simple. That's not a board member's job. Use your experts. They're all around. They're there to help you. Okay, I like that.
Even the insurance expert, because guess what? We're talking about a special type of insurance, directors and officers liability insurance for community associations. As you can see, it's unique. This is not like a big major corporation. It is a nonprofit. But guess what the difference is? We live with each other. We look at each other. We see each other every day. And when our issues are not financially driven like they are in a corporate world, they're emotionally driven. So when they're emotionally driven, they have different avenues. They have different things, because I can sue you as a board member, but I don't want money. I just want you to stop doing what you're doing, which is different than if I'm suing my major corporation. If I lost money in my stocks, or I lost money, or somebody made a bad decision, it impacted me economically. In our condo world, I don't want money from you, Robert. I just want you to do your job better. Go out there and make sure, you do things in a timely manner. You didn't do it, so I'm mad at you. That's the difference in our world.
Yeah.
The uniqueness about our world.
Well, we're talking to volunteers here, our board members. And Kevin, it's always great talking to you. What I'm feeling now is a little bit of concern that, yes, the work that you've taken on as a board member is hard, but I am so relieved that you keep saying all you need to do is be reasonable. So in closing, any final thoughts to add to that?
I would say this: duty of care, duty of loyalty, duty of obedience, and duty of transparency. That's your job. If somebody accuses you of any of those 4 things, okay, make sure you have an insurance policy. Just everybody make sure you have a director and officer liability policy designed for community associations. That's the most important thing you have, because if it's not designed for community associations, it's a policy designed for economic loss because I invested in them properly and because the board's incompetent and I lost money in the stock.
Yeah. And from the many times I've talked to you about it before, D&O insurance for board members is, can I say, cheap?
About $1,000 for, that 100 units, 200 units, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
it's inexpensive, not a big deal. It's not like property insurance that is, I don't say running away, but is expensive at this point in time.
And the rate hasn't changed that much in the past, whatever. I mean, it's going up 20%. So instead of being $1,000, might be $1,200 or $1,500. It's less than about $2,000, So
because the increases in cost of construction have nothing to do with asking you to stop doing what they want you to stop doing.
Exactly. That's, inflation, none of that stuff. It has to do with one simple thing: just do your job in the best interest of the association, and you will be okay.
I like that. Well, we hope you learned some HOA insights from our discussion today that helps you bring common sense to your common areas. We look forward to having you join us for another great episode next week.
You've been listening to HOA Insights, common sense for common areas. If you like the show and want to support the work that we do, you can do so in a number of ways. The most important thing that you can do is engage in the conversation. Leave a question in the comment section on our YouTube videos. You can also email your questions or voice memos to podcast@reservestudy.com or leave us a voicemail at 805-203-3130. If you gain any insights from the show, please do us a huge favor by sharing the show with other board members that you know. You can also support us by supporting the brands that sponsor this program. Please remember that the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the hosts and guests, with the goal of providing general education about the community association industry. You'll want to consult licensed professionals before making any important decisions. Finally, this podcast was expertly mixed and mastered by Stokelate Video and Marketing. With Stokelight on your team, you'll reach more customers with marketing expertise that inspires action. See the show notes to connect with Stokelight.